Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because those Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. In Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets, that's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because those Mets are really rocking the ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets, that's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, let's go Mets.
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and we are back here live in New York City, talking about what else? Carlos Correa, now officially a stalemate, according to me. Nobody's telling me otherwise, but this is officially, I mean, quite frankly, to have this to be going on for the last 2 weeks is ridiculous. We're now out of the holiday season, and we should be moving on from this. And quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about it. I know you're all tired of listening to it, but let's get into it. And of course, before we get into this, please subscribe and like this video. If you want to participate in the chat and you're just passing through, subscribe, and you can ask me anything you want in the chat. In the chat, I'll get this right. So we've gotten into the situation now. Correa is now in limbo for the last 2 weeks. I was hoping that this would be over by today, because my attitude is I'm trying to hope to do some football content, and this is holding up the channel because I want to do live streams talking about the Giants going to postseason if they're not being there for a long time. And I'm kind of waiting, and praying that this gets resolved. Just make up your mind and figure out what the hell you're doing. I don't know what's going on with the lawyers. I don't know what's going on with the deal. I know as much as you do, which is jack squat. Jack squat in this situation. Let me get to the chat. People are patiently waiting. Hello, Aiden Davila. Muff Man Evolved. Christian JMJ. Hello, Jersey Grit. And we'll talk about Rafael Devers, who's re-signed with the Yankees. Re-signed. I'm having an off beginning to this live stream. My goodness. But yes, Rafael Devers has re-signed with the Boston Red Sox for 11 years, $331 million. 26 years old. So he's going to be taking this to the middle of his 30s. I don't know the exact details of the contract. That other than that, it's 11 years. Yes, it is. It's on the kind. You got that right. Military stalemate. The best way to describe it. Well, Devers is a lot of guys' weakness. That guy kills everybody. That guy's a good hitter. He's a very talented player. I never thought that the Mets would get him, but I also didn't think that the Red Sox would re-sign him. It seems like the Red Sox have been sort of spinning their wheels for the last 2-3 years, really since they traded Mookie Betts, the fake Mookie. We know another Mookie that's a lot less fake than him. But I mean fake F-A-U-Z. Not that he is, a lesser Mookie, but he's not our Mookie. And they've not run that ball club properly. Heimblum has done a terrible job up there. At least they got that right and re-signed Devers. I mean, Devers is a great hitter, and he's still very young. He hasn't even entered his prime yet, and he's done a lot of good things for the Boston up there. But it's too bad he wasn't going to be a free agent. He was going to be like the third free agent in next year's free agency. Now we got Ohtani and Manny Machado, who has an opt out, but I would assume he's gonna opt out of that contract. I don't see anything otherwise. He's definitely gonna opt out, no doubt in my mind on that one. He's a Boris client. He's a very talented third baseman. Well, let's talk about Correa. So Correa now, I don't know what the hell's going on with Correa. Correa is now still out there. The Mets are still like figuring out what the hell to do. The agent's trying to figure out what to do. And, of course, we're sort of sitting and waiting. Now, what the difficult part of that is we've heard all kinds of rumors if you've been following. I haven't done a video on it, per se. Eduardo Escobar, there was talks that he would get traded to the Marlins up until when the Marlins signed Gene Segura to play third base. So the Mets are kind of dangling him or trying to dangle him, but they can't do anything until they make this deal with Correa official. And until they make that deal official, we're just sort of sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting. But obviously, once this deal is finished, because I think it's probably going to happen, because the Mets, the thing is, and hopefully Steve Cohen learns from this, don't talk unless all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, and then you start talking about this whole deal. He shouldn't have done that. Hopefully he learns from that. Especially with a guy that already failed a physical. Now, when we talk about failed physicals, we're talking about the insurance. And obviously there's a problem with the insurance. And when I was reading and watching certain channels like Ballcap Sports, they put out these liabilities where it's basically 3 years. So say it's a 12-year contract, which the Mets were going with originally give Correa, but maybe they can't give like these installments, these like 4 installments of 3-year periods. Maybe they can give the Mets and Correa 3 because he'll be getting up there in his 30s. Maybe they can't do that. So now you have a situation where the Mets are telling Correa's agents, like, look, we can't, the insurance company cannot insure more than 3 installments. Maybe it's just, maybe it's 2. Maybe they can't do even 2. Who knows? But that might be the issue. Obviously, the length of the contract is a major problem because of this injury. Now, people have been writing to me, well, this has nothing to do with all the injuries that he's had have nothing to do with this leg. But the leg is an issue because we saw that in September when we saw this video of him getting tagged out, trying to steal second, and he couldn't feel his leg. He said he felt a vibration and a numbness in his leg. How many 28-year-olds have plates in their leg? Not many. So that is something that the Mets will have to monitor because they're going to be stuck on him. They're going to be stuck with this guy. I mean, they have no choice. And Correa really has no choice. Hopefully, Correa comes to his senses and realizes he can't take, he can't do a 12-year deal now. Probably going to do an 8-year deal, I would think, or a 6-year deal. Who knows? Ramon Isa. Hello, on SNY. They're saying Escobar for Gregory Soto after the Correa sign. Give me your opinion. Thanks. I mean, Soto's a good lefty. They have, it's funny that the Tigers are bad. But some reason, even with that manager there, they're still bad. But they have a very good bullpen. They actually have a very, very good bullpen. They had Michael Fulmer out there. They had Andrew Chafin and Gregory Soto. Let me look at Gregory Soto. Now, please, of course, if you're coming through, please subscribe and like the video. I would mention the Mets already have a lefty, so this is an extra pitcher, an extra lefty, which they didn't even have two lefties in this bullpen last year. They had one lefty. Gregory Soto. Let's take a look. He's pitched most of his career with the Tigers. He is 27 years old. He'll be 28 in February in a few weeks. Last 2 years, he's actually pitched rather well. ERA is a 3.28. He's actually pitched pretty well the last 2 years. He saved 30 games last year. Wow. Interesting. Saved 48 games in the last 2 years. So he's really pitched really well. 136 strikeouts and 124 innings pitched. 95 hits and 124 innings. That's not bad. His walk rate's very high. Wow. That is very, very high. His overall career walks per 9 innings. Get this. 5.3 walks per 9 innings. That is extremely high. That is extremely high. He must be very difficult to hit. In terms, he's probably all over the place. Last year, 34 walks and 60 and a third innings. Holy shit. This guy walks a lot of batters. This guy is like a trainer. This guy is a Mitch Williams type deal. Hello, it's your boy. Hello, Hab Abreu. I mean, like I said, the ERA is very good with Correa. He's been an all-star the last 2 years. He saved 48 games the last 2 years. But the walk total is just outrageous. And his career, 5.3 walks per 9 innings. That's terrible. But obviously, he must have very good stuff. But he was 2-11 this past year. There's a lot of losses for a closer. That's a lot. I wonder how many saves he blew. I'd have to look. I have to really dig deep for that. But he's gone 8-14 the last 2 years. 8-12. The 8-20. I don't like it when relievers have this sort of bad records. You don't see too many relievers that have really bad records. 8-20. And that's a weird thing. But that's like really a little pet peeve of mine. But the last 2 years, he's pitched much better. He's not giving up as many. Let me see. He gave up 2 home runs last year, which isn't bad, and 60 and a third innings. But the year before, he gave up 7 home runs. That's a lot for a reliever. Yeah, his control is a problem. But I mean, what are you going to get for Eduardo Escobar? To be honest with you, that's an interesting. Let's see. Oh, it's your boy says, I think the Red Sox made a great decision signing Devers, but it wouldn't have been better if they had signed Buki too. I think letting Xander walk was not that bad. No. Oh, well, that's. I mean, Xander Bogaerts is a very good player, very underrated. I think he's better than Correa, to be honest with you. He's better than Correa, I think. Very underrated. Very few people talk about how good he is. He's a very good player. No controversy there. It's going to be really good there in San Diego. Aiden says almost all the relief pitchers and starting pitchers are off the board. Well, I wonder why. We're in January. These guys want to know where the hell they're going. Everybody's off the board. All the big players are off the board except for Correa. And then all the sort of the B guys and the C guys and the rest of the losers, they're still on the board. Let me read you a couple guys that are on the board still. Oh, I wouldn't mention Dom Smith. Dom Smith went to the Nationals. He doesn't have to park cars now for a living. He doesn't have to do that now. Well, God bless Dom for getting the job at the Nationals. And I guess he's got a chance to make the team if he doesn't hit 190 and then hit like no home runs. Hits home runs, he'll make the team. He should be able to hit a couple home runs against these minor leaguers, right? In the spring training. I know one thing. He goes 1 for 4 in a game against the Mets. Everybody's gonna be, he's getting revenge on the Mets. Hello, Willard Wright. Oh, okay. Willard Wright says, do you think the Astros should sign Miguel Soriano, the Twins' free agent first base, to back? Who cares? Who cares? I sound like Francesco. Who cares? Who cares? If that's what's keeping you up at night, you need to get some help there. Yeah, so Juraxa Profar, he's still on the board. I don't like him at all. Adam Duvall's still out there. I don't like him. Mets aren't going to get him. They bring in Correa. Trey Mancini's still out there. I'm surprised he didn't get a team. I was here in Milwaukee with him. Andrew Chafin's still out there. That's pretty much it. Those are all like the named players that I have on my sheet. And Yuli Gurriel, he's still out there. I haven't heard anything with him. Eric Hosmer, he signed with the Cubs. They knew they were going to get somebody of note, the Cubs. Yeah, good riddance to Dom Smith. Let's see him cry some more. Or write in his diary. Dear diary, I stink. Love Dom. Dear diary, the baseball hut was making fun of me. I don't know what to do. A little tear emoji on the side. Thank you. I'm sorry. Love Dom. John Kearney worried about what Dom Smith is going to do. Now that Dom's in that, he'll start hitting home runs and say, well, yeah, because they're going to move in they're moving in the ballpark 8 feet. I know. Dom goes like 2 for 4 in a game. Oh, my God. The Mets should not have. I mean, if he has like a series that's good, all you'll hear about is how the Mets shouldn't have gotten rid of him, that the Mets should have played him at first base. Meanwhile, a guy is probably going to break the Mets home run record is at first base. Got a chance to hit 45, 50 home runs every year. But if Dom goes hits like 350 in a 3-game series against the Mets, the Mets shouldn't have done that. They should have given him a chance. Those 1,200 at bats, that wasn't a good enough indication. You need more at bats. I was reading some of that nonsense last night about Dom. That the Mets sort of played him around. They didn't give him a chance. That's a bunch of crap. He had plenty of chances, that guy. Hold on, I need a drink. Look. He had plenty of chances, Dom. Okay? I was thinking about Dom today. He always had a reputation, especially coming to the minor leagues, that his body language was lousy, meaning that he acted like he didn't care when he was on the field. And that's how he acted most of the time. And I felt, and I still feel this way, his bat is slow. I don't think his bat's fast enough for the major leagues. And it proved to be right because he didn't hit really the last year and a half he was with the Mets. He's always hurt. I was thinking he's very similar in terms of what the Mets drafted with Ike Davis. Remember Ike Davis? The Mets kind of drafted Ike Davis and Dom Smith were very similar comps. They both were guys that kind of sort of could hit power potential, but had power potential, good defensive first baseman, couldn't run a lick, and they basically did the same things. You sure about that? Did Dom have plenty of chances? You sure about that? Absolutely. Dom had 1,200 at bats with the Mets. That is plenty of time. That is plenty of time to see what kind of player he was. He got the job to be the everyday first base in 2017. He got to be primarily the first base in 2018. He was basically given the job in 2019, but he got beat by Pete Alonso in spring training. He made the team. He did pretty good. Then, of course, he got hurt. You didn't see him most of the season until the last day. No pressure in that last at bat. 2020, nobody in the ballpark. He played 50 games out of a 60-game season. He played well. But then in 21, he played the whole season, did not hit a home run in the second half, did not hit a home run last year for the Mets in the major leagues. Okay? And he was very disgruntled. He didn't want to be here, and it showed. And obviously, he has some issues that he needs to take care of to where he's a guy that needs to get a handle on himself. He had plenty of chances, plenty of time. Aiden DeVille says, Trout gets moved first, then Ohtani. I mean, first of all, who's going to take Mike Trout? Mike Trout is 32 years old. He's going to be 32 years old. He's always hurt. He's got the biggest contract in baseball history. Very few teams are going to take that contract. The Mets aren't going to take that contract. I wouldn't want the Mets to do that. Trout's not going anywhere. Shohei Ohtani's not going anywhere. Shohei Ohtani has zero value in that there is no team that could match any kind of trade. You would look at basically the kind of pickup you're basically trading for two players with Ohtani. You're picking up a pitcher and you're picking up a bat. He doesn't have value. So if you're a team, say like the New York Mets, you would have to give up at least 8 players for him because you're not picking up one player. You're picking up 2. A pitcher. Hold on a second. A pitcher and a bat. That's not happening. That is impossible. They could never make any kind of trade that would be of any value. There would be no value to that trade for the Angels. I mean, exactly. D74 has it right. Hello, Dunder. D74 has it right. Any team wanting to trade for Ohtani better be ready to give up their entire farm system. What the hell is this? What the hell's calling me now? Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Another wrong number. I get a lot of spam here. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to give up at least 8 of your farm system, 8 players in your farm system. Between 6 and 8 players. It is not worth it. You're better off just waiting until the off season and you give him a lot of money. He's going to get the largest contract in baseball history. He's going to make more than Mike Trout. Mike Trout is not going anywhere. He's the guy. He's got a contract. He's untradeable. And if you're a Mets fan, why would you want him here? He's a center fielder. Let's have a center fielder. Why would you bring more money for a guy that's always hurt over the last 3 or 4 years, and he's got a bad back. He missed a lot of time last year because of a bad back. So why are you bothering doing that? Where is this complete total nonsense about Trout? He has no leverage. He's asking for a trade. They got Ohtani. They've been bringing in all these small pieces to complement this team. Okay, he's getting what they want. They're trying to build a team that can win, but the problem is that the whole thing needs to be stripped down. Okay, if you're ownership there, new ownership going in there, you got to strip the Angels down to nothing and build them back up. And how can you do that if you have Trout taking up most of your payroll? It's impossible. It's impossible. So Mike Trout's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. This whole story was the biggest, this joke about him getting moved and him asking to be traded. That's a bunch of nonsense. I never believed that. And everybody else went crazy. I didn't even talk about it. I said, he's not going anywhere. He's making too much money and he's got to trade. Doesn't he have like he can't like be traded unless they ask him? They're going to ask him if he wants to be traded. Aiden says, I've been watching Anzo with his rumors about Trout. I don't know who Anzo is. Tony's not getting moved. Nobody can give the Angels enough players to make that happen. And Trout is untradeable. You can't make a trade for him. You can't do it. It's impossible. The Mets would have to give both of their catching prospects up for him. You want to do that? I don't want to do that. They'd have to give everybody. Beatty, of Alvarez, Parada, Mauricio. Probably a major league piece. Absolutely, Christian. It is a complete total clickbait. That's about as clickbait as going to get. Knows I haven't done it because I don't believe it. I don't believe he's getting moved. He's not getting moved. Well, Dunder, how are you going to trade? You cannot trade Mike Trout. He's untradeable. They're going to have to live with that contract unless they eat it. The new ownership that goes in there, all right, you're an owner. You buy the Angels, and the first thing you do is eat the contract that Mike Trout has, and you trade him. You're not going to get any value for him. He's not going anywhere. Mike Lowe says Trout may be too muscular to stay healthy for 162. Well, he's the modern day Mickey Mantle, to be honest with you. His numbers are very much like Mickey Mantle. And like I said, he's not going anywhere. He's just not going anywhere. He's there. If there were a team that would take him, there was one team, it would be the Phillies, because he's from Philadelphia. These contracts are ridiculous. These contracts are not good for the players. Okay? That's the problem with these contracts. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. These contracts are terrible for these players. Why are you signing 10, 11, 12, 13-year contracts? Like, I could not understand why Fernando Tatis signed that contract with the Padres. You're 21 years old. Why would you want to be stuck in a place for 14 years? I don't understand this contract that the Mets signed Lindor for 10 years. Why want to be in one place? Be in one place 5-6 years. If you don't win, you don't do well, you're going to be miserable there for all those years. It makes no sense. And it just doesn't, to me, it's just, I don't understand some of these like, for instance, we got, even with some of the pitchers, look at the deal that Jacob Degrom got. Christian JMJ, Tatis could explode in 5 years and be worth much more. Let me tell you something. After what he's done, how he looks at himself, how he carries himself, it's not happening. Sorry, Christian JMJ, it's not happening. Tatis is not happening. Okay. The guy has proven himself to have zero character. First of all, he signs this contract. He signs this big contract. He signs his big contract with the Padres, and he can't wait to get on a motorcycle and ride around. Twice, and he hurts himself. So he has no regard for his team. He's got no regard for his body. He's got no regard for this commitment that he's made. And then what does he do? Takes PEDs. I'm sorry, Christian JMJ. Sometimes people do stupid things. That's fine. But sometimes people are just stupid. Fernando Tatis is stupid. Okay? He's shown himself to be a very selfish individual. And quite frankly, the Padres should have done a better job and realized that he was immature or whatever, or just stupid, and not giving him that contract. Okay? And I know what they're thinking. They probably think, well, his father was a major leaguer, his father was a major leaguer. Hey, he wouldn't be like that. Well, apparently he is. And again, why you get and what's this deal with Wander Franco? Wander Franco, another player like this? Wander Franco signed that big contract with the Rays, and he was hurt all year last year. Why do you give these young guys these big contracts? It makes no sense. Man, why do you do that? What, to avoid arbitration? They're not even in arbitration. It makes no sense. Steve, Sophia, stop making sense, Hut. I'm going to make sense. I mean, this makes no sense. There's a reason why so many players, 50s, 60s, and 70s, fought so hard for free agency. So they give themselves an option to, one, make money, and to be able to move from team to team if they want to. And you have seen, from what I can tell, why do these young guys want to be stuck, say, like in Tampa Bay, that has zero chance of being a World Series champion anytime soon, that has any chance of having a beautiful ballpark to play in? It's one thing if you're going to sign in San Diego. But then to be hampered with a bad ballpark, to be hampered with a bad city. Tampa Bay is a bad city. Miami's a bad city for it. Just is. Those teams need to move. Miami's a joke, and Tampa Bay is a joke. Okay, if you wanted to Franco, why you sign a 6-year deal? And I know, or 10 or whatever deal he'd sign. But if you're there for a few years, now I know one thing, folks. When the Rays know that he is finished, they're going to move him, and people are going to be thinking he's going to get traded in some big trade. They're going to get a whole bunch of players for him, and then he's going to do absolutely nothing for the rest of his career. And here we go again with the A's. Oakland doesn't care about sports in that town. Okay, they didn't care about the Raiders. They never cared about the Raiders. That's why the Rays couldn't figure out where the hell they wanted to play. Los Angeles, back to Oakland, Los Angeles. And they finally went to a place where people care about sports, and that's in Nevada and Las Vegas. The A's should move to Las Vegas. That's what they should be. The Las Vegas Athletics. That's what they should be. They should have an opportunity to get the hell out of there. Mike, I know I'm not down there in St. Pete, but you can't support a team. They can't support a team. And it's a horrible ballpark. It's a horrible stadium. It's a horrible place to play a ball game. It is so antiquated. It's like something stuck out of the 80s. Michael Osborne, you said if we didn't hear anything on Correa by Wednesday, we should worry and still feel that way. Does it get it done? I'd be concerned about Correa. I said this because this should have been resolved already. It shouldn't have taken this long of a time, to figure out what to do with Correa. There was no reason why Correa should not have been announced by now. It's been 2 weeks now. And you've had 2 full days of business in terms of everybody's back to work the last 2 days. It's not a holiday anymore. Enough is enough. Just get this deal done. I don't understand what the problem is. Foolish genius. Hello. Definitely agree on that. Oakland shouldn't have any teams that city is run down. Well, I don't care about the city, but they clearly don't. First of all, the Athletics that first of all, the Athletics need to be. They're another team that needs to be sold. Okay, why that owner doesn't sell that team? Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, the town doesn't care about sports. Thirdly, whenever that team is good, the fans don't believe it because they know that once they have like a good season, that their players are going to get moved. So, but you see what the commitment was with the Raiders. So that's a problem. They're giving them a hard time about building a ballpark. They had a site for a ballpark, the A's, and the city struck it down. Well, if the city struck it down, then get the hell out of Dodge. Simple as that. And you tell them that we'll get some lawyers. We're getting out of here. Just leave in the middle of the night. Say the hell with this. We don't need this. Let the lawyers deal with it. And it wouldn't take much for Las Vegas to take them. Most of all of these owners have money. Okay. You tell me the Tampa Bay Rays owner doesn't have money. You tell me the A's owner doesn't have money. I know the Pittsburgh Pirates team has money. They don't spend money. But the problem with the money being spent is not so much with the 26 man roster. The problem is the infrastructure. Do you spend money on the infrastructure? Do you spend money on scouting? Do you spend money on technology? We know from last year with Steve Cohen, the biggest thing that he did during the season was he bought this machine. It's revolutionary. It's a machine that you program the machine and it pitches how the pitcher on the mound that night throws. The way the ball moves, the way the fastball moves, with any kind of breaking ball. That's revolutionary. That's what we've talked about here for all these years with the Mets not spending money. That's where the problem is. These teams don't spend any money on building a very strong infrastructure. You see that with the Guardians, I think. You see that with the Braves. How did they save all this? It makes no sense. How did they save all this money? How do you get Sean Murphy to take undervalued contract? How do you do that? I know there's no taxes down in Georgia, but how do they do that? Because the infrastructure is so strong because they put the money where the money's supposed to go. And we saw with the Wilpons, they didn't do that. Just to use them as an example. Let me see. Michael, Rays have a huge payback penalty to the city if they break the. I'm not talking about them leaving. They should leave. I'm talking about Oakland. The relationship between Tampa Bay and the Rays don't seem that bad, but Oakland is horrific. And I know that ballpark is bad. I know that stadium is bad. And the only people that and then they converted it to a football stadium, and they got all these empty seats upstairs. And they just cover it with a tarp. It's stupid. Tear the damn thing down. Put it back to the way they had it. They had it the way they had it, where you could see the city and all that. It'd probably look a lot better, but it's a dump. Did my little rant. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut if you haven't already, and like this video. This is kind of what we've kind of gotten down to, because we've been sort of talking about just sort of waiting on the Correa thing. We have not really, and I'm getting tired of talking about it. I know you are. At some point, hopefully this is all resolved. I mean, this is ridiculous at some point. Now, of course, please like the video and subscribe to go along. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers. We're 59 away. So please hit the subscribe button. I want to get to 3,000 subs. And of course, I thank you always for watching and taking the time to watch the recorded videos and participate. This is a very lively live stream tonight. Me complaining about other teams that aren't the Mets. There's really not a lot to complain about with the Mets, to be honest with you. I wish I'd done this channel like 3 years ago. This would have been some rip roar. And Mickey Callaway and texting ding, get out. And then they fire him, and then they bring in Beltran. Then they fired him. Then they bring in pathetic Louis Rojas. Oh, I complained about Louis Rojas. That's for damn sure. Back in 21, you've been following this channel. You know how much I can't stand him as a manager. Oh, man. Not as bad as good old Jerry Manuel. Hey, Jerry, the Mets lost 3 in a row. Ha, 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 ha. Hey, Jerry, they lost 6 out of 7. Ha, ha, ha. At least Louis didn't do that. Once in a while, Louis kind of had a pulse. Not most times, once in a while. You're right, Dunder. Complaining about other teams makes us feel very good about us. It should, because we don't have to complain anymore about our team anymore. Steb Amstang, 5'7", 5'16". Let's go, Mets. That's right. We're going to get to spring training in about 5 weeks. Now, the Pirates are a different story, Aiden. The Pirates are a different story. They have a beautiful ballpark. They got a great fan base. Oh, don't spend anything. They don't spend any money. And he's got billions of dollars. These guys got everything you could possibly have on the periphery. He's got everything you can imagine. That's right, Thunder. We're not underdogs anymore. We're the hunted. We're the apex predator now. That's why Randy Levine of the Yankees said, we're still the flagship team, the past, the present, and future. You're not even the flagship team in this town anymore, bub. Yankees trying to keep up with the Mets. D74 says the Pirates owns the 10 franchise. Oh, yeah. Why isn't he spending money? I don't know. Just doesn't want to spend money, you know. They haven't won in a very long time, the Pirates. I would mention they've not won since 1979. They've gone a long time without winning. Very long time. And it's been a long time since the Pirates won anything. It's the last time the Pirates won the World Series. Can't be 1979. That's a long time. That's not something to be proud of. Foolish genius. Do you think owners should have to spend a certain amount on payroll, especially since owners pocket? Sorry. Everybody moved here. Let me read this again. Do you think owners should have to spend a certain amount on payroll, especially since owners pocket luxury tax money? No, because spending doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. I mean, we see with the Rays, the Guardians, you don't have to spend a lot of money. But when you spend, like I said, when you spend money on on the infrastructure, that makes a difference. I mean that's how it is. I mean, if you spend money on the infrastructure, you shouldn't have a problem having a winning team. And it shouldn't take a lot of money to send a scout someplace to go look at a player, say in Central and South America or in Japan. That shouldn't take a lot of money to do that. Or somewhere out in the middle of Wyoming, for instance, like Brandon Nimmo. I mean, you shouldn't have to do that. I mean, really, the Pirates have not been to the World Series since 1979. That is embarrassing. And they've had good teams. I mean, those teams. Now they probably should have went to the World Series in '92. They had that very difficult series against the Braves. I mean, they should have been able to get to the World Series then, but they didn't. Belinda blew the save, against the Braves. Let's see. Hello, Sean Zarnecki. Hello, John Rosie. Lendog 73. Lendog, I want to explain something to you. I think it was Lendog who said this on one of my shorts. Was it you? I don't think it was you. Let me see. Might not be you, Lendog, but somebody wrote to me. about. No, it wasn't you. Somebody wrote this about Trevor Bauer. This is about Trevor Bauer. I did a little short on the channel. It said, should the Mets sign Trevor Bauer? I don't need the Mets to babysit me as a fan. I don't know what the hell that means. Just go out and get Bauer if it helps us fans get a championship. Oh, and the organization. Well, this guy that wrote to me, Bauer is a cancer. Bauer has been alleged to have raped a woman 2 years ago. Okay. Why would you want? And this guy does not get along with his teammates. This is a guy that's had a long history of not getting along with his teammates. We know the history of him and Jared Cole. We know that he's had issues with his managers on the field. You don't want him anywhere near the Mets. You know. I know you've all been waiting for this. Gene Segura's contract with the Marlins is official. Whew. Man. So glad that happened. Steve Sophia, these contracts to young, essentially unproven players become albatross to both the teams and the players. Exactly. You're better off just going through the arbitration system and build yourself up. You're leaving so much money on the table long term. Look at Sean Murphy. He had 3 years left on his contract. Why are you signing a 6-year deal for less than a little over $10 million a year? It doesn't, to me, that's stupid. That's how you like negotiate in the backwards bizarro world. Everything's backwards. Why would you do that? That guy's a good catcher. Was he 27 years old and he's doing this kind of a contract? Stupid. That is not good. He must have left at least $40 million on the table. Man. I mean, really, just a bad. Absolutely, all these guys that are down in Atlanta, they're leaving so much money on the table. And they just sort of, I mean, why do they do this? This makes sense. Let me check something. Out of curiosity, I want to see when they're going to announce the Hall of Fame. So, meanwhile, please subscribe and like this video. See when they're going to. January 24th, they're going to announce the Hall of Fame. We already know that Fred McGriff got the vote. He's going in. Let's see what we got here. I'm just looking at they got the vote on MLB.com. So I'm just looking at some things here. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. It's just the year before, I guess. Now, I'm not too happy about some of the people on this ballot, on this Hall of Fame ballot getting in. Some of the numbers I've seen on some of these players is really bothering me. This thing with Helton really bothers me because I don't look at Todd Helton as a Hall of Famer. And the last thing that I heard was that he had 77% of the vote. I couldn't believe that when I saw it. My jaw dropped when I saw it. Because to be honest with you, this guy was accused when he was playing that he was on something by an announcer. One of the Colorado Rockies announcers accused him of being on steroids. And if you look at his numbers, especially his home run totals dropped when they started cracking down on the steroids. And that was a big red flag to me that he was doing something because, and the fact that an announcer accused him of it and he went crazy about it. So January 24th, we'll have the announcement of the Hall of Fame. Scott Rowland should be in. I think he'll be in. Thunder says this. It's so funny how some of these players that are on steroids get in, but the best home run hitter, Barry Bonds, does not. How does what the hell's his name? How does David Ortiz get in when we know he failed a steroid test, the same test that A-Rod failed? How is he in? A-Rod's not in, and Barry Bonds is not in. Why? Is he because he's friends with the media? Is he because he's in the media? That's how it seems to me. It's like this little club. Pretty much a lot of people knew that something was up with Ortiz because this was a guy that was released. He was non-tendered by the Twins. Okay. This is a guy whose career was basically where Dom Smith's career is. It's where Justin Turner's career is. Most players do not get come back from being non-tendered to being a Hall of Fame player. How does that happen? He gets in, but Barry Bonds is not. You know? And Roger Clemens is another guy that we know he did steroids because there was always these rumors, but he never failed the test. Same thing with Barry Bonds. Now, we do have testimony in court that Barry had done steroids because his girlfriend testified against him. Talked about acne on his back and losing his hair on his head and shrunken testicles. You know, I mean, really, and then you see these other players that no one's ever talked about them, and then they can't get in. And it's just And Mike Piazza was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and there was really no talk of him doing anything. And they look what they did to him for 3 years. Let me go through some of these other names on here. So Scott Rowland's probably going to get in. Billy Wagner's going to get awfully close. I think he's going to get in eventually. Andrew Jones. How is Andrew Jones not in there already? Did someone explain that one to me? Gary Sheffield. Gary is a borderline case. Gary's borderline. He does have the 500 home runs. I know that he admitted to doing certain things. But I don't know. He's going to get awfully close to getting in. He's going to get awfully close. He's got another year on the ballot. A-Rod should get more votes, but he failed so many drug tests. He's not going to get in. Jeff Kent. Now, if you look at Jeff Kent on the surface, you would say he deserves to get in, but I am not a big Jeff Kent fan. I saw him play with the Mets. I think a lot of you have too. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Kent. He did not get along with his teammates. He did not get along with the media. He did not get along with the fans. I saw that myself eye to eye. Jeff Kent. And here's the thing. We have Albert Bell. Albert Bell has never been accused of using steroids. But because he's a horrible person, or he was a horrible person when he played, he's not getting in. And then we have the veterans ballot. It would have been nice to know where some of these people voted for and why they voted. We didn't hear anything. Only Fred McGriff gets in. I'd like to know why the 16 people, I guess 16 people, the 16 people that were that were voting in that ballot for these old timers, quote unquote, why Kurt Schilling didn't get in. Okay. Can somebody explain that one to me? Is it because of politics? Because that's the only reason why. The only reason why he didn't get in is because of politics. I like to know what Susan Slusser voted in this. I would have liked to know what Kim Nang voted. Okay? And there was one ballot. There was one ballot where nobody voted for anything. I like to know who that person was. I think it should be open forum. You don't have a lot of people in this committee. If you don't vote in a ballot, you lose the vote. You bring in somebody else. The thing is just it's not consistent. I just don't understand. Dundalk 73 says, I don't understand why the Hall of Fame is run by newspaper people. Well, they see the most games. And they cover these games and these teams for like 60 years, 50, 60 years, some of them. Thunder says this, the fans should get to vote. Why do these stupid media personnel get to vote and others don't? You know, you're right. Foolish Genius says, are there any potential Hall of Famers that enter as Mets? Yes, Carlos Beltran. Carlos Beltran, so far, early on, has got 50% of the vote. Beltran should get in. And he deserves to get in. S-Man says this, Ken was an Edgar Martinez. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. That's a whole different animal. Edgar Martinez is a totally different animal. Carlos Beltran, career 279 hitter, 2,725 hits, of wins above replacement 70.1. Played 20 years, 2,500 games. Wow. 435 home runs, 1,587 RBIs, 312 stolen bases. Forget that Beltran stole a lot of bases, especially before he got here before he got to the Mets. Though he stole a lot of bases in 2007, 2008. Big time postseason player. A lot of MVP votes. The highest vote he got as MVP, let me see. He won Rookie of the Year in 2000 with the Royals. The highest vote he ever got in the MVP vote was 2006. He was fourth. That year, he was an All-Star, won a Gold Glove, and Silver Slugger for center field. Rookie of the Year, 9-time All-Star, 2017 World Series, 3-time Gold Glove winner, all with the Mets, and 2-time Silver Slugger, all with the Mets. This guy's a Hall of Famer. And he was voted the Sporting News center fielder for the 2000s. So Beltran's a Hall of Famer in my book. He'd probably go in as a Met. He played a lot of years with the Mets. His biggest moments were with the Mets. And he sort of bounced around after he left here. Let's see. Exactly. Why isn't Keith in the Hall of Fame? Keith has a higher WAR than Fred McGriff, Orlando Cepeda, Gil Hodges, I think Tony Perez. So 4 Hall of Famers have a higher wins above replacement, meaning that they help their teams win a certain amount. Keith's WAR is 60. Fred McGriff's is under that. Gil Hodges, who just got in, is around 40. You have all these guys that are in. See, what hurts Keith is he's not a power hitter, and he didn't finish the 300. But if you watched him, he was a Hall of Fame player. He was an impact player. Foolish Genius. Do you think that Wright and Reyes could get their numbers retired at Citi Field one day? One yes, one no. I think you can figure it out. Jeremy Berman. Is there some personal issue they have with Keith? I don't think so. And we know we had that issue with the cocaine in the 80s, but I don't think that's what's holding him back. I think it's the power numbers, I think. You know, I mean, if you're going to put Bill Mazeroski in the Hall of Fame, why isn't Keith in there? And Keith was a great player. That's not some joke. Yeah, I mean, David is going to, just get back to David Wright. David Wright's number is going to get retired. Foolish Genius. I got a bias for Reyes, but the problem with Reyes obviously is that problem he had a few years ago with his wife. Mike Lowe says this, Beltran has 0 chance, and he knows it. She just don't get absolved of their sins in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he wasn't suspended. Okay? This sort of blanket statement. He's... I mean, that's just a ridiculous comment. He's getting in. Okay? You know, he was not a Hall of Fame player that last year. So he played 20 years. So for for a guy who was a part-time player, at the end of his career, you're going to like penalize him for not getting in the Hall of Fame. That's silly, Mike. That's silly. Hello, Southern Cal Mets fan. How you doing there, William? A man doesn't spend time with his family is not much of a man. Never forget that. It's very important. Anyway, so of course, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you're watching on replay, leave comments in the comments section. An irresistible chicken sandwich. I will toss my lettuce and tomatoes at Beltran. He's going to get in. Okay. Okay. Beltran is going to get in. If he gets 50% of the vote this year, and that's what he was getting last year, as time goes on, his chances are going to go up. 50% is very good on a first ballot. It's very good, especially for a guy that has issues. As we get further along, and more stuff will eventually come out about what happened with Houston. Look, Alex Cora is managing. AJ Hinch is managing. The only person that really has gotten punished and is not coming back to baseball is Ludau, I guess. Jeremy says he bet on baseball. He did not bet on baseball. Oh, talking about Pete Rose. I'm sorry. Mike Lowe. Let's get into Pete Rose. If you're going to go down that road, Pete put himself on an eligible list. Okay. Pete put him on that. He put himself on that list. Okay. And I would say this. First of all, when you go into the ballpark, if you go into a clubhouse, it doesn't talk about cheating. It talks about gambling. Okay. Pete put himself on an ineligible list for gambling. That's different than cheating. Okay. All right. Shoeless Joe was caught conspiring with gamblers. Pete Rose was caught gambling, not only as a player, but as a manager. It didn't matter if it said, it doesn't say when you go into all these ballparks, and this goes in the minor leagues too. Doesn't say, well, if you gamble for your team, that absolves you. That does not absolve you from guilt. Okay. All right. The gambling hasn't stopped to this day. Pete gambled that the Reds are going to win the World Series this year. Michael, gambling as the manager is cheating. Okay. I don't know what your definition of it. Okay. According to MLB, they said that he wasn't cheating. He gambled on his team. But I would say this. Those teams that Pete managed, they were all second-place teams. The year after he left, after he suspended himself for life, Lou Piniella went in there, and they won the World Series. So Pete was holding them back with all his decisions based on his gambling. All right. And the reason Major League Baseball came down on Pete the way they did was because he wasn't a player anymore. He wasn't putting people in the seats anymore. He was a manager at that point. And he had so many people hanging around him, so many seedy people with the mob and everything else. Oscar Gamble, are we going to go back 50, 60 years? I don't know anything about Oscar Gamble. I know he had the big afro. That's all I know about him. And he played for the Yankees. Okay. They tend to turn a blind eye to certain players when it comes to the gambling. And other sports are the same way. Look at Michael Jordan. They told Michael Jordan to get the hell out of here. Len Dog says this. Okay. I want to probe into umpires like Hernandez for any ties to gambling. S-Man, if you don't like sports, don't follow it. It's as simple as that. If you don't like baseball and the way things are, don't follow it. Simple as that. I'd like to see you know what I think about Hernandez? I think he's just an asshole. Angel Hernandez is just a just an asshole. Please don't get naked. The irresistible chicken sandwich. Please, you won't be irresistible if you get rid of all your fillings. Please, don't do that. It's an interesting chat tonight. Talking about Pete Roosevelt things. Again, if what Beltran did was so bad, you would think that he would have gotten suspended. None of the players got suspended. Okay. That's why everybody's also pissed off still to this day. Again, about Correa, they're reworking this deal with Correa against the Mets. We're probably going to see a probably a lesser year, lesser money for him. Oh well, shouldn't have failed 2 physicals. Yeah, so the Mets will. I'm going to keep talking about this. Like I said, I want to do stuff on the football channel. I kind of. This is like in a holding pattern. Robert McClure, Devers, Reynolds, and Arquette Marte. I don't know what you're referencing. Hello, Thor. How long will you be on? Not too much longer. A few more minutes. But you can still watch me on replay. Robert McClure needs to be more specific. Just putting out names. Let me put out some names. Bassett, Anderson, Anthony Rizzo. Yeah, I need a little bit more if you're going to say something there, Robert. Anyway, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Be interesting to see what I know. The chat's all over the place tonight. Robert McClure and trade. Which one? Okay, which team, Robert? Rafael Devers is not getting moved now. He re-signed with the Red Sox. Ketel Marte signed a contract last year with the Diamondbacks. He's not getting moved. Okay, so now we're down to Brian Reynolds. So you basically answered your own question if you've been paying attention tonight. Robert McClure, trade market. Come on, man. You know, I don't know anything. You're just spouting out names. You're spouting out names to players. I don't know what your question is. Reynolds is probably going to get moved. I don't know where he's going to get moved to. We're hearing the Yankees here, but I don't. Come on, man. It's Milwaukee. Come on. Mike Lowe. Cohen should sign somebody soon. Boy, that put pressure on Correa and Boris. Okay, like who? Mike Lowe. Well, like Justin Turner. No, he signed with the Red Sox. Dom Smith signed with the Nationals. I know. I shed a tear for Dom. Maybe Trey Mancini. That'll put a lot of pressure on Correa and Boris. Christian JMJ. Whatever happened to this rumored big move the Yankees had planned? Wah, wah. It didn't happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. The big move was that they brought in a Rodon. They made him cut his hair and shave. He looks like a different person. And then it's funny, they bring in these players that are like, they bring in these players that have like long hair, and then the media gets all twisted. It's an antiquated tradition. I have no problem with it. I'm sick of the long hair in baseball. That's run its course. Maybe somebody will like grab Charlie Blackmon and clean him up. At least Justin Turner cleaned himself up. He doesn't look like a ragamuffin anymore. Doesn't look like a homeless person anymore. I'm very upset by this, man, Thor. We no longer have Dom or McCann. Boo Big Who. But both good guys. Oh, yeah, that's, you know. Anthony Gates says the lumberjack beards are funny. Not after 5, 6, 7 years of this. Time to clean yourself up. And I'm not saying it because I'm clean shaven, but clean yourselves up. Especially in the middle of summer. Especially in the middle of summer, and you see these guys, it makes you sweat just to be on the surface of it. Jeremy says this, I'll miss Dom. Hope it works out for him on the Nationals. Sorry it didn't happen with the Mets. Well, he's not that good. That's why he's not here. I would mention this again. We learned a lot about certain players with the Mets. We learned a lot about Jeff McNeil, and we learned a lot about Francisco Lindor. When you have a good manager and a good coaching staff, it makes a big difference with certain players. Buck being here as the manager made a big difference with them. Be all serious for a minute. And you saw that, I guess, in the reverse. You saw that in the reverse with Dom, where Dom was not nearly as impressive as he had been. And sometimes when a manager comes in and expects excellence, expects smart play, certain players can't really handle that. That makes it very difficult for certain players to be able to handle excellence. I think that's kind of what happened with Jacob Degrom. I think that he had a built-in excuse a lot of times with the Wilpons, seeing as how the Wilpons, didn't really ask for excellence every day. So you kind of get sort of lethargic and get sort of complacent when the team doesn't play well. So, if DeGrom pitches well and the Mets don't score any runs, oh, well, I did my best. I'm mad that the team didn't win the game, didn't score any runs for me. I did my best. They tried hard, And I think that bothered him too. I think that was, I think just a lot of things that sort of add on to why he wasn't here. Thor. Dom and Conforto never lived up to the hype. Here's the thing about Michael Conforto. They rushed him to the major leagues because the Mets were desperate when they called him up. I feel kind of sorry for him a little bit. That's one of those things that I feel kind of bad for him because, he should have had like a full season. Robert, come back to me. We'll get into Daniel Murphy in a second. But Conforto was rushed to the majors. He probably should have spent the whole 2015 in the minors because he never played AAA. They probably rushed him. He probably shouldn't have been with the Mets until 2017. Robert McClure. Okay, let me get into this comment. I don't want Don to become Murphy did on the Nats. Okay, let's go and let's do a little revisionist history with Dom Smith. He didn't hit a home run for the last year and a half with the Mets. He was basically relegated to the bench and then sent down to the minor leagues where he did very little. Okay? So let's keep a guy that's disgruntled and who has played terribly for almost 2 years because you're worried that he's going to do well in the future. So let's keep a bad player when we can have a good player on the team. That's the first thing. Second thing, Daniel Murphy. Okay? Daniel Murphy, last 2 months of 2015, hit a lot of home runs. Then he had that stretch of unbelievable hitting against the Dodgers and against the Cubs. Did absolutely nothing in the World Series. Done nothing. Did absolutely nothing in the World Series. Okay? And cost the Mets I think he cost the Mets game 4 with errors in the field. For 7 years with the Mets, 8 years he was with the Mets, he was one of the worst base runners in Major League Baseball. He was one of the worst fielders in Major League Baseball. In 2013, Murph did not hit a home run until August. Okay? This was a guy that had zero power to his game. The Mets offered him a qualifying offer in 2016. He declined it. Could not get a contract with any team. He took lesser money than what he was going to get for the 1 year with the Mets than he got with the Nationals. Nobody thought that Daniel Murphy was going to be this guy that hit for power. Nobody thought that. Okay? Nobody thought he would do that. Nobody thought that. People were hanging on to him because of what he did in postseason. All right? I mean, it's one of these things you have to look at the whole picture. And I would mention after that, his career basically fell apart because he had all kinds of knee injuries. We know about the knee injuries that he had. He had a knee injury in the minor leagues in 2010, and he had a knee injury the following year. So those knee injuries is what basically made him retire. Nobody expected Daniel Murphy to hit for the power that he hit in 2016, 2017. Okay, don't blame the Mets for that. Okay, these things happen. All right, and to bring it up with Dom Smith, give me a break. Daniel Murphy could hit. Daniel Murphy didn't have a lot of power, but the guy can hit. Dom Smith can't hit. Dom Smith can't hit. Okay, his bat is slow. I'm sorry. Thor says this, just like Travis d'Arnaud, great for the Braves, but never did anything for the Mets. Had all kinds of opportunities. Exactly. d'Arnaud is very similar. Well, he's kind of in between, really. Chris Flexen went to Japan. You kidding me? Chris Flexen was terrible with the Mets. Robert, come back to me. Stop hanging on to these old Mets. Who cares? It's irrelevant. Every team has this stuff. Every team has these kind of players. Justin Turner was the last guy in the Mets bench on 4 teams that were bad. And the Mets non-tendered him. Give me a break. Who cares what Dom Smith becomes now? Who cares? The guy took less money this year to go play for a bad team. Think about that. Chris Flexen. Chris Flexen went to Japan. That's how good he was here. Absolutely, Anthony. The Mets should have traded Dom Smith after the 20 season. That's when his value was the highest. Where was I? I missed a player. Hold on a second. Somebody said something. Yeah. And Travis d'Arnaud. Let's talk about Travis. Let's talk about Justin Turner. Justin Turner, before he got to the Mets, was drafted by the Reds, got traded to the Orioles, and Buck Showalter released him. Then the Mets non-tendered him, and then he went to the Dodgers. Now he's with the Red Sox. That guy's career was pretty much dead in the water when he left the Mets. Travis d'Arnaud was a big prospect. Started out in the Phillies, got traded for Roy Halladay. Okay, then was in Toronto. Then the Mets traded for him for R.A. Dickey. Oh my God, Paul Sewald. Get into him. Then the Mets had him here for a few years. He couldn't stay healthy, couldn't stay on the field. Had to get Tommy John surgery. He had some good games in 2015 in the playoffs. Steven says this, I enjoy when bad things happen to the Mets. Whoa, that's funny. You should say that. Because now you have sent yourself off to the Phantom Zone. Those are the magic words. Those are the magic words there, Steven. Bye-bye. You sent somebody off for just that, yes. And Travis d'Arnaud was basically released by the Mets after they gave him a contract, which made no sense. It was a bad move by Brody Van Wagenen. Then the Dodgers picked him up. They had him for a week. They had him for a week. And they released him, and then the Rays picked him up, and then he eventually wound up with the Braves. He bounced around. The guy's he bounced around all over the place. Yes, Paul Sewald. Bet you didn't notice about Paul Sewald. He pitched over 200 games for the Mets. It was terrible. There's a reason why he did not play well here is because he couldn't handle any kind of like criticism from the fans. And his behavior at Citi Field when the Mariners came here was disgusting. I would not trust Sewald if my life depended on it. And didn't he blow a save against the Blue Jays? I think he did. I would never ever trust that guy. You know. Yeah, Steven got sent off. Hello, Aaron. You know, I mean, you can't once these players leave, you can't be like pining for them, especially if they've been bad for the Mets. Like Justin Turner was bad for the Mets. I mean, really bad. Dom Smith has been bad for the Mets for the last 2 years. Why are you pining for him? Oh, the people have been complaining about the guy. I've been complaining about him for 2 years. Actually, longer than that. They finally get rid of him, and people are like, why do they do that? He's going to come back and hurt. Who the hell cares? Who cares at this point? Jason Bay. I don't know what the hell happened with that guy. That was a bad deal. That was a bad contract. I don't know what ever happened to Jason Bay. Game for War says Dom Smith will not become the next Kevin Mitchell. No. Kevin Mitchell could play. He was a good player. He was a very athletic guy for a guy that big. And he was a nice guy. I met him when I was a kid. He was playing for the Mets. That guy was a nice guy. Mets blackballed him out of here because of where he lived. Well, I always felt bad they moved him, but the Mets were in a bind, I guess. They wanted an everyday left fielder. But yeah, I mean, you're right, Christian JMJ. Some players just can't handle it here. I don't think Jacob Degrom can handle it here. I think that's why he left. I think that the sort of asking for excellence all the time doesn't sit well with some players. And I think it was like that with Jacob. I think he always had sort of an out when the team didn't play well. He pitched great. I don't think he wanted to have all that spotlight on him. I think a lot of stuff changed once the Wilpons sold the team to Steve Cohen. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how I feel. Robert Gazelmid. Oh my God! You need to get a life, Robert. Right about these old players, these old Met players. Who cares? Probably not asking where our buddy. What the hell's his name? Who's the player that I can't remember his name? He always pointed to the air when the home run would go out, like it was some kind of fly ball. What's the reliever the Mets had? Can't remember his name. Lastings Millage. It's the second reference to Lastings Millage I've seen in the last few days. Hello, Garden State Garden. Yes, I think Ohtani will be here with the Mets. Yeah. I think Ohtani will be here. Turk Wendell. Eric Campbell. Soup. Let's just put in random Met names. Desi Relaford. That's a random Met. Armando Benitez was good from April to August, and September rolled around and he choked every time. Every time. And it didn't matter which team it was. Any kind of pressure, he fell apart. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what team he was on. It's your boy says, I can't wait for the WBC to start in March. Yeah, you're the only one. Todd Homley. No, we need some like Todd Hundley. Seth Lugo. He's a recent. Seth Lugo's a recent one, Robert. You're picking these. You're going to say Seth Lugo is going to win like a Cy Young? Don Ossie. That's a name you don't hear. That guy blew a game. He blew a big game for the Mets back in 1989. A game against the Dodgers in August. He gave up a home run against Willie Randolph, and basically just destroyed the Mets season moving forward. Jeremy Berman, can you go back further in time? Ken Boswell, can you go back further in time? I don't think you can at this point. Let's see here. Now, of course, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Ollie Perez. It's your boy doesn't realize that pitchers have won the MVP. But Mets have a guy on in their rotation that's won an MVP. Justin Verlander won an MVP. I don't think you know that. When will we ever see one? When will we ever see one? Oh, well, there's one. Justin Verlander. He hasn't played for the Mets yet. Juan Sanchez. You guys you either get like the more recent ones, or you get the ones like they're really back for. I'll give you one. Tim Cochran. I can give you one. I'll put it in the chat. Tim Cochran. That's one you'll be like scratching your head with. Tim Cochran. Let's see what year you guys can figure that guy played with the Mets. Tim Cochran. People are looking on Baseball Reference. That's about as random a Met as you're going to find. Didn't play that long with the Mets at all. Let's see who in the chat can figure out when did he play for the Mets. He didn't play for the Mets long. Yes, Jeremy got it first. Jeremy got it first. Look at that. He got it first. Yes, he played for the 86 Mets. I vaguely remember him. He was the backup first baseman for Keith. Andre Horton says, Hut, 9 years, $305 million opt out after 5 years for Correa with incentives. What do you think? That's not going to happen. They're going to give him more money per year with not having like insurance for the whole contract? Nah, I don't think so. That'll be less money. He was getting $27 million for 12 years. You know, that's not going to happen. Not at all. Yes, Tim Cochran was the backup. First baseman for the 86 team. Coming out of spring training. Only played 6 games for the Mets. For some reason, that name popped in my head. Oh, we're talking about random Mets. Tyler Cotta, Vance Wilson. I think that was Hundley's backup, or was that Kelly Stinnett? Kelly Stinnett played with Hundley. Vance Wilson was the backup for Mike Piazza. Jeremy says this 86 was the year Dave Magid joined the Mets late in the season. That's right. It's your boy says this. John Boyd thinks Correa will get a 5-year deal instead. Well, that's perfect. That means they probably can't sure it past 6-7 years. That's probably what it is. Christian JMJ trivia. Preston Wilson was traded for who? Mike Piazza. Anthony Gates says, will they resign Keith? I think so. Really? John Boyd says that? I mean, I'll say this about John Boyd. He's the biggest baseball YouTuber. If he says that, that's probably what's going to happen. I would think. Yeah, you can't. I hate these long term deals. That'd be a great deal for both sides. I think that's a perfect deal for both sides. Uh, Garden State Gardner. I love Mackey Sass, but never saw a catch that couldn't. Had the yips. I think he wouldn't even like firing, he'd lobbing it, and they'd steal on him all the time. Michael Anthony, Brian Bohan. That's a random one. Yeah, Mackey Sasser. I saw him hit a home run at Yankee Stadium for the Mariners. My first game I ever went to was at Yankee Stadium. Me and Old Man Hut got me tickets, and we sat behind like sort of the spot between the Mariners dugout and the cage and the old Yankee Stadium cage. And we saw Mackey Sasser hit a home run, Dave Magadan hit a home run because they were all going to they're all playing for the Mariners, and of course Ken Griffey Jr. First time I ever saw Junior play for the first time. Game for war. Is this even a question? Game for war. Who was a better first baseman? John Olerud. John Olerud had 2,000 hits, man. This guy won a batting title. This guy was a great player. Great player that didn't make the Hall of Fame. A lot of great players that don't make the Hall of Fame. He was one of them. He was great. I thought he was great. Up until Pete got here, he's probably the second best first baseman the Mets ever had. That's how good he was. He was so good, man. So underrated. That guy, let me tell you something. Men on base, you don't throw him a fastball down the middle on a first pitch on him. He always hit it. Thor asks, how long have you been a Mets fan? Since 1985. But Olu, man, he was a great hitter. Oh, I love watching him hit. He was really good. He was really, really good. That guy, talk about underrated. And Mets gave up nothing to get him. They gave Robert Person, of all people. Robert Person, he was so good, guys. Aiden DeVilla, predictions on why Mets haven't signed Correa. You know why? A bum leg. That's the prediction. That's not a prediction. He didn't pass a physical. He's got a bum leg. Insurance company doesn't want to insure it. That's why he hasn't signed yet. And he's being a pain in the neck about giving less years. He has a bum leg. Bum leg. All right. Here's the top free agents left in the bum leg. Peg leg. Somebody was saying. The top remaining unsigned free agents. Andrew Chafin. I talked to him. I don't think he's going to sign with the Mets. Jurickson Profar, I'd stay away from him. Michael Wacha. You want Michael Wacha? That's a random Met name. Matt Moore. I could see the Mets bringing in Matt Moore. Trey Mancini. Chad Green. Michael Fulmer. I'd like to see the Mets bring him back. They put him in the bullpen. Mets could use one more arm in that bullpen. I wouldn't mind if it was a left-hander or a right-hander. Johnny Cueto. I've heard the Padres and what's the other team? Get the other team I heard. Elvis Andrus. I don't know where he's going to go. Brian Anderson, third baseman. Adam Duvall. Keep it on Zach Britton with the Mets. Corey Dickerson. Aiden DeVilla. Mets and Liam Hendricks. Nope. That's not happening. And the reason it's not happening is the White Sox had said that they're not moving him. They were taking offers on him, and the Mets were deep in talks with them. But then they changed their mind. That's not happening. Sorry. That's not happening. Michael Wacha. You want Michael Wacha back? Liam Hendricks isn't going anywhere. He's not getting traded. Okay, last year the White Sox went 81 and 81. Okay, they're not going to get much for him. They're not getting much for Liam Hendricks. He's 33 years old. I know he's pitched well the last few years. He's not getting moved. Okay, The White Sox said he's not being moved. They said that they're trying to win this year with the team they have. They have a chance for this division. They're not going to move him. And with the extra playoff teams, they're not going to move him. Why would they do that? Why would you trade one of your best players? You know. Yes, that division, absolutely right, Christian JMJ. They're not in a good division. They're in a mediocre division. The Twins are up and down all the time. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Guardians are sort of kind of up, down, but they're pretty level. They never get too high above 500. The rest of that division's a mess. The Tigers aren't going anywhere. So it wouldn't make sense for the White Sox to move one of their best players. For what? What are they going to get him for? He's 33 years old in the last year of his contract. He's not going anywhere. That doesn't make any sense. It's pie in the sky stuff. It made sense a couple weeks ago, but once the White Sox said they weren't moving him, they were talking to teams, and then they said they weren't moving him. He's not getting moved. You know, if he gets moved, it'll be before the trading deadline. If they start making moves, keep an eye on Lucas Giolito. He will be moved. Okay, they just signed Andrew Benintendi. They have no intention. They have no intention to move Hendricks. That doesn't make any sense. Game for war. Escobar, Ruff, and Vogelback for draft picks and pitching. You'll get something for Escobar. The other team not going to get much for. Aiden says Correa should have just went back to the Twins. Says, well, if he done that, then he wouldn't be winning. He's not going to win there. That's a guy that needs to be in a winning team. He's not a player that's a Midwest team. Sorry. I have no problem with that, John Rossi. I think that would be a good idea. I'd have no problem with the Mets doing that. But we'll see with some of these players. I really don't know about some of them. They really don't need to make any big moves now. They make this Correa move. Once they make this Correa move, they'll be moving pieces out of here. For instance, Escobar will probably get moved. There's a possibility that Carrasco might be moved. I wish they would just release Darren Ruff. They've not done that yet. Maybe they have some kind of. He's not going to cost a lot for other teams. The Mets would not get much for him. Probably similar kind of probably player to be named later or cash. But I don't see him getting moved. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten moved. Darren Ruff. And we will throw a party when Darren Ruff gets moved because he played so terribly for the Mets. He might be one of these players that can't handle playing here. Vogelback, he's such a one-dimensional player. You can't play him in the field. You can't like DH him every day. You can't hit lefties. He doesn't have any speed. He can't move. But he does take a lot of pitches. He takes too many pitches from what I've seen. Christian JMJ, you're a little behind. Because La Russa is no longer the manager there in Chicago. I forgot who they hired. He's no longer the manager there. You're a little behind. Aiden Davila, Dodgers waiting to make a big move. No, they're waiting for Ohtani to be a free agent. The Mets' biggest, competitor for Ohtani will be the Dodgers. Won't be the Yankees. It'll be the Dodgers. Well, this has been a rather lively. It's been a very lively live stream tonight. From Robin McClure. This guy is. Are you a comedian? Oh, okay. Pedro Griffel. It's a White Sox manager. Robert says this. Robert is like a comedian. Would you touch Bauer with a 1,000-foot pole? No, but he would have to keep his distance to 1,000 feet away from me and away from the Mets. That's for sure. He'll go to a bad. If some team signs him, it'll be a bad team. I wouldn't be surprised he went back to the Reds. You don't have to pay. You just got to pay him the minimum. What team's going to take a chance on him? He's such a fucking weirdo. And it's above all his past now. I have to leave. You can't be doing this all night. I'll be back tomorrow. Be back tomorrow, Thor. Hopefully. Then I'll come on earlier. Got to do some stuff here. I don't have a video planned for tomorrow afternoon. That for tomorrow morning, I guess. But I'll be back in a live stream. So I think. I just hope we get a resolution on this thing with Correa. I'm tired of talking. I know the tree's still up. It's not a little Christmas yet. I can kind of get away with it. I can get away with it for now. The tree's still up. So it's not going to be up too much longer. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for coming by. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Be back tomorrow, I think. God willing. God willing. God willing. Yes, I will be here. I'm very concerned that I'll be at work when this deal comes down. I was very concerned today that was going to happen today. So I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And Anonymous Lives. Bauer is not an ace pitcher. He's a number 3 starter, number 4 starter. He's not Jacob Degrom by any means, and he's not any of the pitchers the Mets have on their team. And on that great note, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button before you go. I'd rather you do that than to hit the like button, to be honest with you. And have a good night, and I'll see you later.